Hello and welcome to That Shooting Show. My name is Steve Anderson. I am your humble host. We are once again joined by my good pal Joey Sauerland, and we'll get to him just a minute. But first, I want to thank my sponsors. Walther Firearms, as you can tell by the hat, is the number one sponsor of AndersonShooting.com and of That Shooting Show. Targets USA manufactures the finest steel targetry on the planet. CRSP makes the finest gun handling gadgetry you can wrap around your waist or anywhere else. Joey, my brother-in-law saw my holster one time at a family function, and he said, "What does that do? Go around a 5-gallon bucket?" I was like, "Well, if you want it to, it'll go around a 5-gallon bucket or around your waist, whichever." The AMG-Lab.com Commanderson timer continues to turn heads and blow minds by putting the time into the tablet, reminding me to talk about the data experiment we just did this weekend, Joey, if I forget.
Oh
And
yeah.
of course, I was just telling Joe that I lived 98% of my life in Hunter's HD Gold. Joe lives about 10% of his life in Hunter's H. Well, you don't drive that much, so maybe it's less. But Joe lives some amount of his life behind Active Blue. He can talk about those in a minute. And of course, Outdoor Dynamics remanufactures the finest competition ammunition you can dispense from a Freedom Seed dispenser. And Shooting Sports Innovations is a lot to type because there's a lot to see when you get done typing. Joey, go!
Okay. Yeah, my sponsors. So number one sponsor, Masterpiece Arms, baby. Especially if you need a new limited optics gun. But I think you should go ahead and just drop your money on an iron sight gun instead of the optic one. But that's just me. Masterpiece Arms is number one. And then my other big one, Summit City Bullets. I've messed around with a large number of guns over a short amount of time, getting into USPSA. And Summit City Bullets have definitely given me the best, most consistent feeding results. And then their weight consistency is also really great. Hunter's HD Gold. I'm always wearing gold on the range, but then yeah, like you said, if I'm driving in the car, I'm wearing blue because they they still activate and darken from the sunlight, even when the light is through a windshield, which makes a huge difference. And they're also really good for looking at your phone, even when it's sunny out. They don't make that any darker. And then 2 Alpha Apparel. Yeah, if you need some good swag, some good fitting clothes, it's always hard to find online shirts that fit good. I know a lot of the guys in this sport, you're trying to wear a shirt that fits good, makes your chest look good, makes your arms look good. I'm with you. And you can't see how it fits online in advance, but 2 Alpha Apparel is making those good fitting shirts. So shirts and their hoodies, especially too, while it's still cold, go snag you some.
Oh, and I have one more sponsor note. I would like to thank Masterpiece Arms for being my official raincoat sponsor.
Mm,
Um, I have been wearing that thing as kind of like an outer layer, even if it's not raining. And I have noticed it took me a little while to figure it out, but I was like, why is everybody so respectful when I'm wearing this thing? Why is everybody keeping their? It's because the back of the jacket says Masterpiece Arms Pistols, pretty big, pretty big.
yeah. 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 Those rain jackets are top of the line. Shout out to Lauren Cashin, team manager, Masterpiece Arms. She makes it happen. She gets us the best stuff.
The only downside, and maybe this isn't my fault, is I find that it does restrict a little bit of lower body movement if it's zipped up.
Oh,
Um,
if you zip it all the way up, yeah. But that's only because it's long. It's a long jacket, which is what you want. It's gonna keep your butt and like your upper thighs totally dry. It's like a tunic.
yeah.
But yeah,
It's a small price to pay for a dry butt. And how many times has that been the case? Small price to pay for a dry butt. Okay.
right. Well, and if you're going into action, I mean, unzip the bad boy.
Therefore, butt mobility is more important than butt dryness in that environment.
Right, right. I'd rather be. Never mind. Never mind.
All right, we are not here to talk about posterior mobility. We are here to talk about. You sent me a text message. We were both traveling,
Yeah.
and you sent me a text message that was pretty detailed for a text message. Did you type that or dictate it?
I typed that. I was killing time in the sky at the time with some bourbon cream in coffee, decaf coffee. So I had nothing else to do. So I just sat there and typed it out for a few minutes.
All right. So why don't you give us a synopsis of what you and your bourbon cream coffee typed out to me?
All right. So uh, with less typos because it's a weekday and there's no bourbon in my coffee today. Uh, the main takeaway was I asked myself the question, and I'd done this before, but it came up a lot this weekend at a class that I was teaching. Um, I've asked myself before when doing dry fire match mode, setting up a stage and shooting it, why is it better the third time? Usually it seems like anywhere between the third and the fifth time, it's considerably better, right? Everything flows smoother, you know. And I asked myself, why is that, right? What factors make, and everyone knows if they could shoot a stage 5 times, the fifth time would 99% of the time be better than the first time. What makes that difference? And kind of the obvious upfront answer is, well, I've done it multiple times, so I got to practice it more, so I'm better at it. Okay. So you don't have any new shooting skills, so your shooting's not any better. Did did you have the stage better memorized, like the layout physically of the stage? So could you maybe have just done more mental reps of your stage plan? So basically, the question was, how does it affect your shooting? How does having done the stage 5 times affect your shooting? And the main thing that I could figure out that I could then pretty well replicate artificially, just in my mind, I could make a first stage run much, much closer to that fifth stage run with a little bit of extra confidence and singular point of focus, which is something I threw. Those words came up a lot in my class when talking about like training, working on one thing at a time, speed mode, action mode, working on one thing at a time, having a singular point of focus. But when it came to shooting the stage, I found that the difference between the first and the fifth time for me was the fifth time, I wasn't worried about anything else. I'd already shot the stage 5 times and I wasn't worried about, okay, make sure I don't forget this target. Make sure you don't overshoot this position. Make sure that you know, make sure that you fill in the blank. Don't fill in the blank. And there was no more of that because my confidence had gone up because I already shot it 5 times and I knew that I knew the stage. So what I did was, this is where mental management comes in. I kind of just artificially, and I won't go into detail about how exactly you do this. This is your boat and you've taught me well, but I don't want to chew on for too many minutes. But basically, I artificially ramped up my confidence, and by artificially, I mean I artificially ramped it up, but it was very really ramped up. Um, and zeroed in my singular point of focus even more. So there was even less, whispers in my ear about, okay, do this with your feet next, or don't overshoot this position, or whatever. Any other thoughts or focuses in my brain, I pushed them out more, focused even more on my singular point of focus with a little bit of extra confidence. And I found that most of the difference between a first run and a fifth run I could make up and have my first run be basically my fifth run in terms of its quality, just with a little bit of extra mental management. And I had to text you about that because that's pretty revolutionary. Because most people are just talking about skills and the mental game, but I'd never heard anybody phrase it in terms of, what makes your fifth run better than your first.
Sure. And I don't know that I agree with you completely that the fifth run would always be better. Now, maybe I do now that I think about it, because the second run would probably contain some overtry or undertry.
Yeah.
The third run would probably contain the opposite of that,
Yeah.
whatever the second one
Yeah.
was. The fourth one would be beginning to almost like the stages of grief, right? You
Right.
know,
Right.
the fourth run would probably be I'm getting close to surrendering to this, and then the fifth run would be let's just
Surrender.
yeah, 100% surrender. So
Right.
acceptance, which would be the final stage of grief, you know.
Right. I think
Um,
that I think that's exactly accurate because by the time you got around to the fifth one, because you shoot the first one in whatever match mode you can conjure up, instantly, right? On a stage, right? On demand, whatever match mode quality you've got. That's what you'll shoot the first one with. And then, just like you said, second, third, and fourth, over trying, under trying, whatever, reminding myself that all those other things don't work.
mhm.
And then on the fifth one, it's just going to be okay, now that I've tested doing things other than just my match mode with a singular point of focus. I've now reminded myself that nothing else works as well as that. So I'm going to do that again. And I've already shot this stage 5 times. So I don't have to worry about anything because I've shot it 5 times. It's easy.
Yeah. So if we want to get people interested in mental management, which is obviously the goal here, everybody shoots their best when they're not thinking and they don't care.
Yeah.
But what they don't do is put any effort into. So we know that you can't go to the world shoot and not think and not care. Okay, we're not even going to try to do that. Um, but if we're not going to be able to do that, or if we don't think that's going to work, how do we get the closest to that? And
Hmm.
so you talk to a lot of shooters. How many, what percentage of USPSA shooters do you think know they need a subconscious stage plan and know what that means? What percentage, ballpark?
It's definitely, yeah. I feel like everybody, once they've shot a couple stages, they know that they need to have the stage memorized. Now they're probably doing varying levels of visualization. But wait, did you say a subconscious stage plan and a singular point of focus, or just
No,
subconscious?
no. Do you think that they know they need a stage plan they can execute without conscious thought?
I'd say a majority, but definitely not 100%.
See, I think a majority tries to do it, but I don't think they understand why they're doing it.
Oh, well said. Yeah, I agree with that.
Meaning you can go to your first match and watch everybody air gun it and you can copy that. But I don't think so they know they need to do it because everybody else is doing it, right? But I don't think they know that what they're doing is creating a route between the gas station and the grocery store that doesn't require the GPS. I don't
Right.
think they know that. Okay. But isn't that the first requirement for not thinking and not caring?
Yeah, big time.
Okay. So that's good, right? And then so not thinking, I don't think they extrapolate that fully to subconscious.
Yeah, they're still it's funny you put it that way.
Right.
They're
I
still
don't think
they're stuck in the conscious. They're thinking, I know I need to not think. They're still thinking about what they need to not do.
right. That's exactly right. So so if we can get a subconscious stage plan, that's really close to not thinking. That's getting closer to not thinking. Okay. So if we were to rephrase not thinking as a low amount of conscious thought, it might be easier to understand. Okay. But we need, I tell people in mental management all the time, a low number of thoughts per second produces a high number of points per second. And
Mm,
a high number of thoughts per second produces a low number of points per second.
I like that, especially if you spell thought THOT. I would get that tattooed on me somewhere.
Right next to return to monkey.
Yeah, yeah,
Return to monkey, low thoughts per second.
yeah.
So
Less less thoughts, more shots.
it's pretty good.
I like it.
You could do the mathematical greater than symbol, and I'm not
Oh,
sure
yeah.
the
Oh,
archaic Pac-Man.
less than shots. Oh man, I love it.
Pretty cool. Okay, so you mentioned manufacturing short-term confidence.
Mm.
As the young people say, let's unpack that off the rip. How'd that sound for a young person lingo? Is that pretty good?
I don't even know what off the rip means, but
So that means you're hipper than hip, you're cooler than cool. I'm just now got so my wife just started saying off the rip, and she's 40 something, 43, I think. So if off the rip is just getting to the 43-year-olds, that's yesterday's news for you.
what does it mean? Does it mean do it right now?
It means from the very beginning, and we think it's related to surfing. We're not 100% sure.
Yeah, that would make sense. Okay, so
So
from the
how
bottom.
do, how do you manufacture short-term confidence, and why is it so important?
Well, it's definitely not just an in the moment thing. You have to have a foundation of confidence built up before you even get to the match or to your dry fire session. There's a large percentage, probably between 75 and 90% that you're building every day when you dry fire, which the system for doing that is mental management, how to build that confidence, that base confidence. But then in the moment, there's almost conscious. You get to make a conscious decision about what you're going to think about, right? What you are going to think about. You can't choose what not to think about.
Mhm.
And There's just it's almost hard to put into words. It's almost just you're selecting a vibe, if that makes sense. And part of that vibe of confidence is, letting go. I don't need to worry about any of that stuff. I know what to do. But it's not, I don't have all those words in my head when I'm doing it. It's more of that vibe.
So let me help you with that,
Yeah.
because the way you have explained it is the way people have been explaining it in shooting or trying to for a very long time. And I don't think the message as you delivered it, I know you understand it, but I think I have some words that people can understand it a little. Because remember, I do this all day, every day, right?
Right. No, mental management is your game.
Yeah. So here's what happens. Your last thought about something is a fact for some period of time.
Mm.
Okay. Let's say you love dogs. Dogs are great. Not afraid of dogs. But one day, a random dog comes out of nowhere and bites you on the ankle. Okay.
Mm.
For some period of time, you're afraid of dogs. Now, your reservoir of attitude about dogs will overcome that last one after some amount of time passes.
Mm-hmm.
But for short term, man, you're scanning the street for dogs because you just got bit.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So your last thought regarding something can override past thoughts for a certain period, some period of time. Okay. So let's say, remember the 37-yard mini popper stage?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
If you get up there and you see it and you're scared, 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 but right before you shoot, you say, you know what? With the right sight picture and the right trigger pull, I can totally do this. Okay. That last thought can be a fact long enough to shoot the stage, regardless of those previous thoughts. But what's even better is if sight picture trigger, I can do this, sight picture trigger, if it stays the same, it's even more powerful. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So if you remember when we got there and Travis was watching the production Super Squad have a little trouble, we saw the famous Travis smile get inverted
Yeah.
because he's watching the best production shooters in the country struggle.
Yeah.
So I said, Travis, I'd give you a couple of American dollars if you'd go somewhere and do something else other than watch these guys. And he's like, yeah, this is horrible. I put the book back in the freezer. I don't want to see this.
I can picture him saying that right now. Oh yeah. Oh no, this is terrible, man. I shouldn't be watching this.
Yeah.
Uh,
And
what?
so seeing that is affecting his thoughts about that stage. This is going to be hard. I'm a top shooter. They're top shooters. They're struggling. I'm probably going to struggle.
Mm.
Okay. And I don't remember how well he shot that stage. But
Yeah.
what I attempted to do for him was remind him, hey, you're a world champion. You can make this shot all day long. The only problem you're going to have is getting in a hurry. With the right sight picture and the right trigger pull, 37-yard mini popper is come to popper. It's no big deal. Okay.
Come to Popper.
So if we can control our thoughts about a task up to that moment, it's better. Okay.
Right.
But manufacturing short term confidence is about having the last thought be a fact in the short term that says, hey, I can do this. Right. Now, going back to how this all started, where you're able to recreate the fifth run on the first run,
Yes.
what is happening there is your mental rehearsal. So your confidence level doesn't know the difference between a great mental rehearsal and a great run. So if you can vividly rehearse a great run, and you had an excellent point without a lot of words,
Yeah.
and we'll remind me to come back to the words thing, but if you can visualize a truly great run and you can do that some number of times, your confidence level doesn't know the difference between shooting it 5 times and mentalizing it 5 times, as my buddy in Brazil says, mentalizing it. Okay.
Okay.
I was just mentalizing my stage and it went great. Well, when he mentalizes, his confidence goes up because you never get it wrong in your rehearsal, do you?
That's right.
You never do. And if you believe in that, if you believe, hey, this is a thing. Now, something that some people do is they'll say, well, I can visualize it all day long, but we all know I'm going to screw it up.
Some people say that too.
Right.
all day round.
all day wrong. And then that way, so that goes back to that last thought being one of failure. I may have visualized all this, but we all know I'm going to screw it up. Last thought is now a fact. Okay. So going back to the word thing, this is sort of a mental management, what do they call the last test? Final exam. Okay.
Mm.
Why are words a problem in the visualization?
Well, because words are thoughts. I think I have the right answer here. Words are thoughts. And if you have words in your visualization, then you're going to have those words in the form of thoughts when you're actually doing it because you've rehearsed it that way.
That's exactly right. That
and
is
every thought is another point of focus, however intense, that's distracting from what should be your singular point of focus.
That's exactly right. And what I was hoping you would, your answer is actually better. What I was hoping for, what I was hoping for is it activates the conscious mind, which reduces subconscious performance.
Ah, sure. Yeah.
Your answer was even better. If there's words in there, it increases the thoughts per second, which I know for a fact reduces points per second. Okay.
Yeah.
Remember, everybody listening to this program shoots their best when they're not thinking and they don't care.
Yeah. I had multiple people this past weekend say that. They were like, hey, I always shoot my best when I'm just on autopilot. And I'm like, yeah, that's how it works. You pick any one thing, you're going to get that one thing. So I was explaining a singular point of focus to them, for like your match mode. And basically that, if you pick speed, you're probably going to get that. You try and go fast, you're going to get that. If you pick to shoot all alphas, there's probably not a single target you can't do it on. You'll probably just about do it. But it's good to have a singular point of focus that doesn't push or hinder either one of those beyond where they're ideal, which is why I think what you've taught me, shot calling, is probably the best one because it doesn't tell you to go fast, doesn't tell you to slow down, and yeah, it doesn't tell you to aim perfectly on every target, which would slow you down more. Doesn't tell you to be sloppy either. It's perfect.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And I don't know if I could describe this very well. Since you've experienced it, maybe you can describe it. I don't know if shot calling is thinking or not, but I do know it is the best occupation for the conscious mind.
You know what? I don't think shot calling is thinking. I think it's knowing. Think
Hang on.
about what think about what you know. Do you have to think about something to know it? Because you're only the shot's only called after it's already happened. The sight's left from that spot on the target, and however long it takes the speed of light to go from the dot to your eyeballs and then get processed somewhere close to the speed of light, I'm pretty sure, by electrical signals in your brain, it's already happened. So there's nothing to think about. You already know it. And that's why I think that's why you go so fast when you just call in your shots is because you don't have to think about anything. You just know.
You've changed from thinking to knowing, which means
Ah,
you're not thinking anymore.
boom. Earth shattering.
That's
This
pretty
earth
cool.
information. I tell you, probably 4% of the people listening to this podcast are going to take it really seriously and like go do mental management, and then it's going to change their lives forever in every aspect of their life. And then probably 96% won't, and that's okay. That's okay because it's a free country. But
Well, there's three groups of people who take mental management. The bottom third thinks I'm going to take this class and start winning. The middle third says I'm going to pick and choose the parts of this I like. The top third says I'm going to do everything in this class and see what happens. And
right,
in the top third is probably closer to a top 10%. I've had numerous people come through the class twice, and I say, "Why are you doing this again?" They said, "I didn't apply any of it." Okay, well, that's probably a good reason to do it again.
good honesty.
Yeah. In fact, the guy I was just talking to with one of my insiders right before we started this,
Right.
uh, he had an injury and had to take 3 months off.
Ooh.
So he goes to an IDPA match and has his best finish ever at an IDPA match by doubling down on his mental management process.
Yeah. Well. He knew he didn't have anything else to think about. There's nothing else he could do.
Mhm.
I find that if I do a lot of speed mode, whatever I do is very reflected in my shooting. Whenever you're doing things in high volume, and so I've found that a day off of training before the match is good because it kind of lets everything simmer and soak down into the subconscious. Whereas if I do a whole bunch of speed mode dry fire the day before a match, I go into the next day match and my brain's like, yeah, we were just doing this, right? You go fast, right? Push the gun where it needs to go faster. So I think giving it a day to kind of sink down, let it simmer down into your subconscious, so nothing's too conscious.
So, Lanny Basham last week did a podcast on how to recover from a slow start.
Mm.
And I don't know if you listened to my version of it, but I did kind of a version of that. And the first reason he listed was kind of surprising to me. Uh, did you listen to the show I did about that?
Not yet, no.
It's fine. So, oh, good answer. Not yet. That was a very tactful answer. Very smart. So,
There,
what do you think Lanny Basham listed as the number one reason for a slow start? Really surprised me.
I mean, if it surprised you, it's going to surprise me. But I don't know. If I had to take a stab in the dark, I would say lack of confidence.
Nope.
Be careful. Make sure I whatever. No.
That's number two.
Okay. Makes me feel good. What's number one?
Fatigue.
Oh, okay.
I was not expecting that, and I was curious on your take on that because you know more about the human body than I do. But if
Like
you
physical or mental fatigue, or both.
he was talking physical,
Okay. Wow.
simply my human body is not at its peak because I'm tired from either. If you think about, sometimes matches have crazy travel, sometimes there's time zone changes.
Yeah.
Uh, Sometimes people go out and partake of things differently than they do at home. Alcohol, caffeine, nicotine might be changing and not be normal, whatever those levels normally are. But I was very surprised to hear that as the first reason. Um, Second is obviously under try. Well, second would be over try.
Right.
And what causes over trying?
Probably a lack of confidence, trying to make up for something. Got to try extra hard.
Yep. Over trying only occurs when we don't think our normal performance will get us what we want.
Mm.
But if we believe our normal performance will get us what we want, over trying will never occur. Okay. Now, under trying is the fear of making a mistake. Okay.
Mm.
It's very common for guys to go to major matches, especially if they've been burned by overtry a few times, like we talked about on runs 2 and 3.
Right.
Uh, Under try means I've been bit by this before and I've got a lot riding on this. So whatever I do, I'm going to avoid making a mistake. So we slow down and get our hits. That works a whole lot better than rush, try, hurry, but it's not top performance. Okay.
Right.
And you've been answering every question brilliantly. What does under try and over try have in common?
They're both not your natural subconscious skill level.
That's right.
Yeah. Oh, nice.
They
I'm good.
both they both require the conscious mind, and they both involve the conscious control of speed.
Ah. Mm-hmm. That's
And
it. Full speed.
and if what's the right speed to drive on an open road?
Yeah.
What's the right speed to drive in traffic? You know, there are factors that affect those speeds beyond how fast you really want to be driving.
Right.
So, all right. So, how to shoot every stage like you've shot it for the fifth time. What I need people to do, number one, decide early. If you've got 5 minutes to get a stage plan together and you spend 4 minutes deciding, you got a lot of problems.
Yeah,
What
that's not good.
what are they?
You're talking about what are the problems if you spend 4 minutes getting your stage plan together?
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, you're not gonna have enough time to make your stage plan subconscious, and you're gonna have to think about it while you're doing it.
And the other problem is that you've got fragments of all your options. Okay. You've got little tiny subconscious stage plans started but not finished, and there's 3 or 4 of them.
Right.
Well, that is always going to cause a brain fart. That'll always cause a forgotten reload. That'll always cause, forgetting to go to the strong hand after the reload or something like that. It'll always cause a brain fart.
Right.
But what I need people to do is spend less time planning and more time preparing.
Mm.
And what do you think the number is? And I know it's different per stage, but do you have an idea how many reps it takes you to get a subconscious stage plan?
It's over 20 for me to have it where I want it to be. Um, yeah, it's over 20. You wanna let me sidetrack you real quick, just because uh this delivery is here early that I'm gonna have to accept, but
Are you getting
uh
ice delivered for your bathtub?
actually I'm getting a new ice bath delivered. So it's really funny because the last time I was on your podcast, like when we wrapped up the podcast, I jumped out my front door, hopped in my buddy's truck, and we went to the Tractor Supply store to pick up my current ice bath. And that's funny because that was like, I don't know, a month and a half, 2 months ago. And now here we are wrapping up this podcast, and the freight truck, whatever the big yellow E is for, I don't know, but the freight truck from Dayton, Ohio is here with my new ice bath.
Okay. So you need to
Yeah.
go do that.
Yeah, I'll have to go do that. But I feel like we covered pretty much everything, right? Pretty
Yeah.
well.
Yeah, I think we'll probably let you go do the ice bath thing, and I'll do a quick recap by myself.
Perfect. Perfect. Yeah. This one is
I
self
got,
cooling and self cleaning.
yeah, I got a few more things I want to talk about before I wrap this up. But as always, it's been great talking to you, and thank you so much for the endorsement for mental management.
Dude, thanks for having me on, Steve. I think I've taken mental management twice. I'll probably take it a third time just because, as long as I'm getting more out of it every time I take it, I'm probably going to keep taking it until that's not the case. So it's really worth the time. Made a huge difference for me.
Good. Thank you so much, bud. Have a good day.
I'll catch you on the flip side, Steve.
See ya.
Yeah.
All right, so Joey has gone to take delivery of yet another ice bath, his at least second ice bath. So I'm going to do the recap by myself here. He sent me a text message that said, I have discovered how to shoot every stage the first time like it's my fifth time. And mental management can show you how to do that and can show you how to do it all day long. And what most of you want is consistency, right? Most people uh, don't leave a match regretting a lack of skill if they have a little trouble. Most people leave a match regretting a lack of consistency. And the consistency is the first thing we can fix. And guys, you can go to a lot of different people for technical help. You can get skills from books, from the internet. You can get them from any place you want to get them. But if you can't get those skills on a consistent level when that timer goes off on every single stage, what's the point? What's the point in learning fancy footwork if you can't leave acceptable shots when the timer goes off? What's the point of getting faster at this thing or this thing or this thing or this thing if you can't get acceptable shots when the timer goes off? So mental management has cracked the code on how to do that. And some people don't get it the first time. Well, let me think about that for a second. I don't know if they don't get it or if they choose to do something different. That's an excellent thing. I'll have to ponder a little bit. But we did solve one thing that has been on my mind for a while. I have said frequently that I don't know if shot calling is thinking or not, but I do know it's the best occupation for the conscious mind. And in his inimitable Joey Sauerland style, he said, shot calling is not thinking, shot calling is knowing. So then it becomes pretty fair to say that shot calling does create the environment of not thinking. Pretty awesome. I've known that for a while. That's an interesting way to explain it that I hadn't thought of. So we are going to have a ton of online mental management classes set up. I'll get those set up by the time you see this podcast or hear this podcast. I'm going to pick the most popular times that people have done. If there's a time slot that you need because of your schedule or your time zone or whatever it is, in the month of February, I can probably accommodate it. Or let's just put it this way. February is the best month we're going to have for me to accommodate unusual time zones and unusual start times. So figure out what time you need in the Eastern time zone. You'll have to do the work on that. And let me know the days and times in the Eastern time zone that you'd like to do this. And if there's other folks in your time zone that like those days, get all those together. That's even better. If you're in a part of the country or the world that is sort of in the off season right now, this is the best time to fix the mental game. If you're in a part of the country or the world where there's not an off season or this isn't it, we can still help you, right? But if you're in an off season because of your weather right now, get this done now so that the investments you make in training, ammunition, travel, classes, whatever it is you're doing, let's make sure that you can get access to those skills on demand when the timer goes off. There's nobody in the world better at helping you do that than me, I promise you. All right, so, and you can always go to andersonshooting.com, upcoming classes, to see where we're at and where we're gonna be, what we're doing, where we're at. Yeah, something like that. And as always, if you want a technical class in your area, send me an email, steve@andersonshooting.com, and say, hey, come here and do a class. And we'll find a way to do it. We have a lot of different options, a lot of different things we can do. And I want to remind you of one other opportunity. I just got back from Texas with a guy I've been working with for a while, and we went and shot a match in Austin, Texas. And I want to publicly thank Alex Acosta for getting us into that match at the last minute. We were literally up at almost 10 o'clock at night the night before trying to find a match to go to because the one we had planned got canceled because of weather. And Alex Acosta in Austin got us into the Austin Practical Shooting Club. I believe that was the match got us into at the last minute. So thank you very much, Alex. But we did something that we haven't done before. We were able to, the match was scored on the amg-lab.com Commanderson timer, and we were able to pull out every shot he fired of that match. Shows right there in Practice Score Competitor. I don't know if it's in Practice Score proper. I've never tried to look for it there, but it's for sure in Competitor. And we compared every shot he fired to every shot that the division winner fired. In this case, it was a Grandmaster. And we started out, as always, my guy was thinking about splits because he noticed some people on his squad were shooting faster splits than he was. So we break down the data and we find splits is an issue, but splits is an issue of 3 to 5 hundredths of a second. Transitions is a larger issue. Transitions were an issue of 2 to 3 tenths, 0.2, 0.3. Much bigger issue. And then we found, like I knew we were going to, that periods of non-shooting were the other ones. The other cool thing we learned was that because of the dry fire this guy's been doing, if it was a standing first shot, he beat the GM. If there was movement before the first shot, the GM got him. So that enabled us to look at his training plan and say, okay, we're pretty good here, standing and shooting. In fact, we're not only are we at a high level, but we're beating a Grandmaster when the first shot is stationary. That's great. So now we know what to work on in dry fire. Now we know I'm pretty good over here because I've been doing this a while. I need to shift my attention to the periods of movement. And that was a very interesting thing to learn. But that is an experience that is available to you. If you want, and I don't even know what we called it, I guess match mode weekend. But the coolest thing for me was that we didn't fire a single round of live ammunition outside of the match. This guy's got his own range. And he also learned something very important that you may be able to learn on your own, you may not. Joey kind of alluded to it. Going fast, rush, try, hurry. We know that doesn't work. Shooting 100% alphas is also the wrong goal because that's slow down to get your hits. Now we're activating the conscious mind to control speed. There's two problems with that. Number one, we're slower than we can be. Number two, the conscious mind is active. Okay, we don't want that. Number three, calling every shot. will always produce acceptable accuracy at the limit of human function. And in doing so, creates the environment of not thinking, creates an environment of knowing, which is not thinking. Because as Joey said, things you know, you don't need to think about. So if you know the shot's good, you don't need to think about it. And I do know that the act of calling shots will prevent you from thinking about anything else. I already had that very well conceptualized, right? It's kind of like if you open the window and see a beautiful sunset, you're not really thinking about a sunset, but your conscious mind is totally occupied. That's the best example. There's another one I could give you, but it's PG-13, and we don't do that anymore. Not on this program. All right, so hope you've enjoyed today's program. I'll think of a good clickbait title between now and when I post it, and you'll actually know it before I do because you've already seen it. So until we meet again, be like me, do what I do, say it with me. 1, 2, 3, get to work.